Now I want you to tell me everything you know about Italian food. And don't forget the name of the chef who fixed it for me.
Nobody sent me. I do business for myself.
So this is something personal, is it? What filthy piece of shit did I do now?
You killed my brother.
I'm sorry. And you want to join him?
No.
It's always the saint that doesn't care about it.
Hello, folks. Welcome to Civi Podcast. That was awful chipper of me right there. I got a nice, I don't know what you call it in my voice tonight. I feel good tonight, guys. But welcome to the show. I am one of your hosts, Gary Hill, and with me tonight is Suzanne.
Greetings from cold-ass Illinois.
Oh, we've been spoiled, babe. You know this. It's I don't want to talk about the weather, but the fact that I haven't heard the words polar vortex yet makes my cockles feel real fine in that sense.
Yeah, knock on wood.
It's almost February. I feel excited. I don't take my spirit away, but yeah, you guys can keep that stuff up north and over east. And I heard they had snow in Vegas, for Christ's sake. I was like, wow, that's we live in a topsy-turvy world, man. I don't want to sound insensitive or anything, but when the polar ice caps melt, I'll be long dead, you know. And I've seen the future generation, and they don't look too bright in illumination or smarts. So let them all drown. I'm starting this show off right, ain't I? Also with us tonight is our partner on the Burning for Springwood podcast, and he does some other shows too, which I will let him mention. Mike Maryman is in the house. How you doing, sir?
What's up, Gary? Hello, Suzanne. It's great to be back on Cinema Beef. It feels like it's been way too long.
It's good to have you, Mike. Oh my gosh. I'll kick this off like we always kick this off, and I'll ask Mike, the guest, what he's been watching lately.
Well, I have been watching Tales from the Dark Side.
Why? Now you've already watched those once, you know, for evil episodes. I remember this. Why would you rewatch the whole series, or you just watch select episodes?
Well, see, here's the thing. I work from home, and sometimes you're not feeling the music. You don't really want to put on a movie that you have to pay full attention to. So I kind of look for something I can play in the background, and, it'll catch my attention every once in a while. And the Tales from the Dark Side shows something I've seen throughout the years plenty enough times to where most episodes, you can recognize them within 30 seconds of what it is and what's going to happen, and you don't have to be focused on the TV 100% of the time. So it just kind of works well with background noise while you're working. So stuff like that, Monsters, which is like the unofficial continuation of Tales from the Dark Side, really.
I spent way too much on that one. I pre-ordered that several years ago.
You got really excited about that box set that kind of sucks. They're okay.
It doesn't suck. No, don't. Seriously, I spent way too much money on it. I don't want to hear anything.
There's like Tales of the Dark Side. I think there's more better. That's great English. But I think there's better content. I almost said more better again. Better content within Tales from the Dark Side than there was Monsters. But like I said, it's like secondary Monsters. I mean, secondary Tales from the Dark Side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I also watched some vampire movies lately because I was on Bo's. First, he started a new Legion series of video podcast, and the first one was compiling a top 20 vampire movies list. Nice. So, obviously, I didn't rewatch like every single movie, but there were just a few that I was like, should I suggest this one? So I rewatched a couple, and that show was really fun.
Did anybody put Twins of Evil really high on there? Because it should have been, I think, in my opinion. It's just The Karnstein twins alone in that movie with their ample bosoms. Thanks, Nia. You got took the words out of my mouth, Nia. Beautiful. Are worth the watch alone. You know.
Vampire Circus made it not as high on the list as I would have put it, but hey, you know, you gotta get it in where it fits in. I guess.
A lot of people give that movie shit. I've always really enjoyed it.
I think it's a fun watch. It's just everything going on in it, and the carnival setting I love. The traveling carnies, I guess you would call them.
Yeah, I've got to ask, where was Vampire Lesbos in the list?
Mm-hmm. Oh, shoot.
That sexy Jess Franco vampire films, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Hubs and I caught that on something. And I'm like, oh, I've seen this before. And Pat grabs the remote out of my hand. And he's like, no, we're watching this.
Yes, it's Vampires Lesbos. Come on. They're going to start making out or something. Come on.
Shoot. And other than that, mostly just the stuff we've been covering on Fresh Cuts. We're finally starting to get some 2021s in. We watched a movie called Bloody Hell, which was pretty fun. And then we recently just did 10 Minutes to Midnight with Caroline Williams. So
yeah, I watched that too.
Yeah.
I'll discuss it right now since we're talking about it. It's not very good to me. I don't know what it is. It's only 70 minutes long, and you get into it, and you expect this film about, you know, what they promised, like this woman, Caroline Williams, who's a radio DJ. That's a big stretch for her. No pun intended. I mean, who gets bit by a bat, you know, in the cold open, which you don't see, but she gets bit by a bat. Supposedly she has rabies or some kind of vampirism, but it's not explored in a film about a woman who may have vampirism. You just kind of bite somebody, and like it's kind of, the girl turns kind of ghoulish in a way, and then it turns into kind of like this, you know, like those hour-long Twilight Zones, how they feel so long. We watched Freddy's Nightmares, obviously. They'll feel real long too sometimes. It just felt like a really like overblown, overcooked sausage of a Twilight Zone episode that needed to be restructured completely, because it felt like a film didn't know what it wanted to be, in my opinion. And it was 70 minutes long, and it felt like 2.5 hours. I don't know what it is.
There was definitely a weirdness to it, especially about halfway through when there's a flip in everything that's going on, and you're like, what the hell is this? I feel like, you know, it was a big allegory for basically getting older and kind of getting pushed out of your role in life and having to like come to the acceptance of it. But you know, it was all right. It's definitely nothing that's gonna probably be toiling around on a top list at the end of the year, but I thought it was okay.
She looks like she had some surgery done, and you know,
unfortunately,
I don't know. And that's not even like, I'm not even trying to shame her or anything, because she's kind of a mean person too, if you ever meet her before. So it's like, you know, at the same time, I don't care that I'm kind of shaming her. So it's like, you know what? She
was really nice to me. I was talking to somebody. I was a few feet away from her table, but there was no one around to take pictures, and she was actually really nice to me.
I had some moments that rubbed me the wrong way, and I'm sure that experience is not shared with everybody. But it is what it is. But fuck you slightly, Caroline Williams. Put it that way. You could be nice otherwise. It's the Danielle Harris effect that Jamie has. She was always nice to me. Let's put it that way. You know. Suzanne, what you been watching, girl?
Oh God. Well, I think it was year before last, and I almost blind bought Exorcism at 20,000 feet. You know what I'm talking about?
Is this
yes.
the TV movie, or is this like the new movie?
The new movie.
Okay.
Oh my God. I'm so glad I didn't blind buy it. It was one of the few movies I got about halfway through, and I'm like, okay, I can feel my IQ dropping. I'm just going to stop here. But I don't know. I've had such a hard time watching movies lately. I have no attention span, so I've been binge watching TV shows. I have been binge watching Hill Street Blues. Apparently I'm into cop shows. NYPD Blue. I've been kind of bouncing around there. I watched the Night Stalker documentary that was on Netflix, and I watched a really interesting one yesterday called The Confession Killer about basically the fraud that was Henry Lee Lucas. Really fucked up shit. They said it's been binge watching TV shows and anything crime related. And been watching a shit ton of remakes because everybody on the NFW hates me.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of do hate me.
Well, they made you watch the fucking what was it the damn Fog remake. I wasn't there for that, but you know.
Oh, I could tell you exactly what happened. I did not even.
That girl got ghost AIDS at the end of that movie. Is all I'll say about that movie. Okay.
No, that ended up being literally. I have not complained. I've complained some, but I still sometimes try to give them a chance, even though they really don't deserve one. But the Fog remake is quite possibly the worst movie I have ever seen in my entire life. And I think I said that about 200 times when we watched that movie.
It's not good.
I could not stop bitching. I fucking broke Nudie. That's why we ended up doing the OG, The Fog, just basically so there would be a week where I was not complaining.
Yeah, there's they tried to make a starring vehicle for Tom Welling, because Smallville was hot at the time. So I see what they did there. It was just poorly executed. It just wasn't very good.
No, the movie is absolute fucking garbage. I mean, seriously, what they need to do is take every copy of it that exists and set them all the fuck on fire.
I used to own one, by the way.
I'm sorry.
Maybe that's what caused the house fire. What's the Fog?
Oh my God.
DVD. Oh, the film I was talking about, Suzanne, is The Horror at 37,000 Feet, which is a TV movie from 1973. Which, are you ready for this cast? It's actually pretty cheesy and pretty fun. Chuck Connors, Buddy Ebsen, Lynn Loring, William Shatner, Paul Winfield, Russell Johnson. It's basically about. I'm sorry, but.
Oh no, I think I remember seeing it.
It's about like some kind of like tomb that's on board the plane that like makes some kind of spirit come out. I forget what it is, but it ends with William Shatner falling hilariously out of an airplane, and it's really terrible 70s TV movie effects. But if you can find it, it's an hour and 13 minutes long. It might even be on Prime somewhere or definitely on YouTube. It's a film I reviewed once for one of those failed 31 Days of Halloween projects that I tried to do, and it's stupid TV fun. So check that movie out, The Horror at 37,000 Feet. Oh my gosh! Anything else, Suzanne? I'm sorry.
Oh no, and let's see. Started watching some of the absolutely horrifically chopped up episodes of Saturday Night Live that I was so looking forward to seeing in their entirety.
It's like select segments.
And they cut the musical guests.
I tell you, it was going to be a thing. I think that was going to be a thing, yeah.
But they cut Santana, the Power Station, the Stray Cats. I mean, NBC, you own these. Put them up someplace where some people like me would like to go watch them in their entirety. Cut this bullshit off.
Suzanne wants to hear Some Like It Hot really bad, so you better get that shit back on their NBC. Because, Power Station. Come on, y'all.
Oh, come on. I Duran Duran. It was part of Duran Duran and Robert, Robert Palmer. Come on.
It was like a super group or something. I've heard of the band, and I've heard the song. I just, Robert
Duran
Palmer
Duran split into two factions. Power Station and Arcadia. Power Station, yeah, there was, oh my God, so many great musical guests that they cut. And I had one episode, halfway through a skit, it just stopped.
Oh.
That was the end. Yeah, they're botched. NBC seriously needs to give it the fuck up.
I love the Peacock app, and I'm sure they're working the kinks out because they have a lot more content that's coming. So I hope they work out those kinks in the app.
Yeah, it's barely functional on through. It just has a...
What a great selling point. It's barely functional.
There's a lot of content on there though, Mike. So I gotta love it for that. You know.
What's the fee for Peacock?
$5 with ads, $10 without ads.
Okay.
Yeah. But
are they making exclusive stuff for it, or is it mostly to have access to like all the archives of the network?
They have exclusive shows on there besides the Saved by the Bell one, obviously, but which I didn't hate. You know, it got better as it progressed. But Naya the dog. Naya
shit! I thought I.
That's okay.
Yeah. I remember growing up watching SNL reruns on Comedy Central, but they would always cut them down to like hour-long episodes. So there was obviously like skits that were cut out because they would have the musical guest. At least I don't remember if they would have both songs they did, but I know at least one.
Yeah, it's just pathetic. That was one of the things I liked about, especially the shows in the 80s and the 70s. They had some spectacular musical guests on.
Well, one's not going to be on there. The Fear episode, the Fear performance will not be on there.
I know, and that pisses me off. You could actually, it's on fucking YouTube, but it's in such quality.
The story about the Fear, the Lee Ving band, they made an appearance on SNL, and were they friends of John Belushi? That was the story.
It was his favorite band, and he said, the only way I'm hosting the show is if Fear is the band that plays.
And they made an appearance, put it that way. Look it up, guys. You know.
Oh God, the moshing was fucking epic.
And that didn't please Lord Michaels all that much. The mess they made. You know?
It was a shit show.
What did I watch? I watched a few things that are relevant. The one I mentioned before we talked already, but 10 Minutes to Midnight. Not recommended by me, maybe recommended by some, but go check it out. It's 70 minutes. I think it's a $4 rental on Amazon, so all you can lose is 70 minutes of your life, which, nowadays is...
And it became available at the right time, right at the beginning of the year when, like, people are looking for new stuff,
I watched the new Batman joint, new animated joint. Batman, what is it? Oh, something of the Dragon. I forget the title of the movie, but basically it takes place in the 70s. Well, it flashes back to the 70s because Batman, Bruce Wayne, part of his training besides the League of Shadows is he joined up with this group of like 5 people, which their master is voiced by James Hong. And Kelly Hu is one of the voices, and Michael Jai White is your Jim Kelly of this group. It's basically if Batman met Bruce Lee and they kicked all kinds of ass. And once again, DC Animated knocks it out of the park with the fight choreography in this movie. For an animated film, a lot of care went into it, and you gotta love that. So same thing with, if you haven't seen, and this sounds really stupid, in the title of Batman, I think, versus Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. If you haven't watched that one, the fight choreography in that is amazing too, especially when Batman fights the Shredder twice. It's just spectacular to watch for an animated film. It's not Kung Fu Panda, y'all, although I will be the one to say the fight choreography, at least in the first 2 Kung Fu Panda films, although it's a fat panda bear, Jack Black doing the fighting and the other animals doing the fighting, a lot of care went into that too. Yeah, I can appreciate that. But this is really good. Nice throwback. Amazing to watch. I can't recommend it enough. Michael Jai White as the Bronze Tiger, if you know who that is. It's pretty banging character. I watched Action USA, which is a film I didn't know existed until when it came. I think Vinegar Syndrome put the Blu-ray out. This is a film which I can't tell you the plot to. Some guy owes some guy money, and then it just turns into squibs and fucking punching. I say punching, getting excited about punching women, but they just blatantly punch this woman in the face, in the nose, in like the first 2 minutes of this movie, and you're like, yeah, that just happened. And then you get like car chases and Dukes of Hazzard type jumps and explosions. And if you like action movies and you don't care about the plot, but you want to watch a lot of stuff blow up, I think Action USA, which is a lost film that they found, I've seen them literally pull film out of the dumpster. Guys like Synapse and Vinegar Syndrome. Like, here's a video of stuff we found in a dumpster. It's like the original print of this movie, and they cleaned it up, they put it out, and Action USA is a film that stars William Smith and Cameron Mitchell. So if you can't get behind that, I don't want to be your friend. You guys check it out. It's wild. Something else I watched. I watched Pandemonium, which, if you don't know what that is, that's a horror spoof from 1982. I did a guest spot on the projection booth. Finally, I was supposed to be on it 2 other times. It just didn't pan out. But this is a film that stars Jimmy Olsen for the Superman movies, and Carol Kane, and Tab Hunter, and a lot of random people in this movie that you recognize. Basically takes place at a cheerleading camp it's a Friday the 13th thing where, hey, every time you try to open this cheerleading camp, all the cheerleaders get killed. And, they couldn't call it Friday the 13th, so they call it Pandemonium. It's supposed to be called Thursday the 12th, but there's a story behind that. But it has a bunch of wacky, stupid people, a bunch of wacky, stupid kills, including a shish kebab scene involving a javelin, which is hilarious.
That is fucking hilarious.
Let's put it this way. It takes place after the cheerleaders tribute to vegetables. And that's all I'm going to say if you haven't seen Pandemonium. They get skewered with the vegetables, and it's hilarious, okay? Oh, my gosh. But yeah, it's got a young judge, probably Judge Reinhold's first thing. I think besides Stripes, he has a role in that movie. He's got, like bleach blonde hair, and he plays a really, milquetoast dumb dude in the movie, and it's hilarious. Not great, because it's great because the jokes still land. Let's put it that way. It's got a lot of what people consider dad jokes in it. Oh, I forget Tommy Smothers and Paul Rubens are in it as well. It's got a big cast. But yeah, it's fun. It's 80 minutes long. Check out Pandemonium. It's a lot of fun. Besides that, I've been checking out the Peacock app too. I don't want to fucking go Peacock crazy, but I watched the first season of Sliders in a day, and that's on there. So
I love Sliders.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I kind of I remember fading out on it because they went I think the first 2 or 3 seasons it was the original cast maybe, and then slowly people started getting replaced on it. So there was one point that I kind of faded on the show, but I remember those first few seasons were solid as hell.
I want to say at the end, the ones that were left were Wade and Rembrandt. I think were left at the end because I know Chris O'Donnell, Jerry O'Connell. They did the thing where his brother came on the show because he was his brother in an alternate world.
Yeah.
And then I think they were together for some episodes, but eventually Quinn left somehow. And then the professor dies eventually on the show. I forget when that happens. But yeah, there's a point where they start splitting off, and Kari Werner shows up to do stuff, and that's fine because she's still fine. And yeah, it's just kind of broken up. I couldn't tell you what happens in the last couple seasons because, like you, Mike, I just kind of fell out. But I'm looking forward to diving into to see what I possibly missed. I don't know if I missed anything, but it's always fun to see the crying man doing his thing, and got to see that the episode where he's like Elvis on the world, but he's supposedly dead, but he's back. The king is back. Singing Tears in My Fro. I love it so much, Besides that, I really can't tell you what else I watched besides those things. There was something else, and I really should look at my letterbox, but I'm not going to right now. But let's kick it right here, and yeah, that's over with. We're gonna go right to the movies because I think these are gonna be some fun ones to talk about. Because yeah. It's a good thing. Now, one of these I did a long time ago. So if you're a true blue, old OG Cinnamon Beef listener, it was an episode that I lost with my friend my friend Chris XX from Mexico City. He was on Terror Troop with me, and I did the show with him. We did Leon the Professional. on the old B format. And we're doing that tonight with, of course, the great Jean Reno and a very young Natalie Portman and of course, Gary Oldman. With the Charlie Bronson, Jan Michael Vincent vehicle, the Mechanic from 1972, with the theme in mind of assassins in training. We'll we'll go chronologically with this one, and we'll do the Mechanic first, and we'll get right into that right after this trailer.
Yes.
Mr. Bishop, we would like you to go ahead.
There are 1,000 ways to kill a man, and one assassin knows them all.
Murder is only killing without a license, and everybody kills.
But when the best in the business...
There are times when I could use a backup.
...takes on a partner...
I'm going to teach you all I can.
The last hit of his life...
Play to win, do you?
I'm going to pick my own mark.
...could be his own. The Mechanic is a non-stop thrill ride. Charles Bronson. Jan Michael Vincent. The Mechanic.
How long till she goes?
Just about... now.
The Mechanic from 1972, directed by the great Michael Winner, who's done multiple Charles Bronson films. Stars Charles Bronson and J. Michael Vincent and Keenan Wynn and Jill Ireland and a assortment of other people that I'm not going to get into. But your cheapo plot synopsis of this film is: an aging hitman befriends a young man who wants to be a professional killer. There's more to it than that. Eventually, it becomes clear that someone has betrayed them. It might be him. I won't tell you right now. Spoiler alert, though, people. Chuck Bronson is an assassin in this film, and he kills J. Michael Vincent's father. He's tasked to kill him, and some big surprise happens. He is not really surprised, but I know Suzanne loves Chuck Bronson and J. Michael Vincent. I never asked Mike's opinion on it, so I'll kick it to Mike first and ask him what he thought of The Mechanic.
The Mechanic is a classic. I mean, if you're into these type of movies, I mean, the first thing that people are going to probably think of when you describe this movie is like, oh, it's like another Death Wish. Sort of, but kind of different. I mean, it's Charles Bronson doing his thing, which is always a treat. I mean, he just kind of has that presence. I mean, when the movie starts up and you just kind of get the immediate shot of him, as soon as he comes on screen, it's like, all right, here we go. That opening kill where he shoots the bullet from across the way, blows up the building. Just what a way to start a movie. I love kind of like the fact that, you know, as Charles Bronson's character is Arthur Bishop in this, as he's kind of taking on his, I guess you could say, apprentice, sort of, in a way. You're kind of going through the movie 100%, like, or not 100%, but kind of wondering, like, is this going to come back to get Mr. Bishop? And, you know, we get lots of cool sequences. The shootout sequence at the end, oh my God, amazing. And then the end is kind of going out in a blaze of glory. Lots of dead people at the end of the movie as the credits roll, and kind of a just ending. And, you know, you can take Bronson down, but he'll still have something waiting for you at the end. So I love The Mechanic. It's great. I've seen it before, obviously, and I'll probably see it again, because what a movie.
I think you made Suzanne a little wet downstairs, a little moist perhaps. You mentioned Blaze of Glory, and that makes her think about Bon Jovi and how much she loves him so much in the
Oh my God.
Mr. K, Mr. Abel, Mr. Catch Me If You Can. Come on, girl, you know. Young Guns too, girl. Come on now.
Oh, I know. I love Young Guns and Young Guns too. Hate Bon Jovi with a passion, but you know that, so you always fuck with me.
Yeah, him and Bryan Adams are all-time favorites. I know this. You don't got a lot of people.
Oh, one of the musical guests that was on Saturday Night Live was Bryan Adams. Guess who I didn't get to see? Bryan Adams, even though I didn't want to see Bryan Adams.
Was this like Summer of '69 Bryan Adams, or like Waking Up the Neighbors?
Oh, yeah.
Bryan Adams?
I randomly picked a season. It was like 1985. So yeah, that was right in the summer of '69. That really made no sense, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. You got his first real six string. He bought it to Five and Dime, right? That's how the song goes? Yeah.
Yeah, then he played it till his fingers bled.
Man,
I hate myself so much right now.
that has to hurt, man, when you play it till your fingers bleed like that. It's I told you it was be fun tonight, guys. I'm fucking with Suzanne. But go for it, girl. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry, you know.
Yeah, this is one of those movies. I got to get a little nostalgic for a minute. I remember I was like a little kid and I was curled up with my parents while they were watching The Mechanic. And then anytime something violent happened, I remember whether my mom or my dad would cover my face. But, you know, hey, I knew how to manipulate those blankets so I could peek around and see what was going on. Yeah, this movie, holy shit, it's classic. I agree with everything Mike said. The first 15 minutes, I don't think there's a word spoken. And you can see just how meticulous Mr. Bishop is when he's setting up a hit. I mean, just detail, detail, detail. And it's when that scene is finally over, after seeing everything he'd done, making sure everything was in place, firing that shot, and then just casually picking up and leaving. No harm, no foul. And random thing I read while I was watching this is that was the hotel that they used for the cover of Morrison Hotel for the Doors. Stupid, random, useless information. I've always been fond of this movie, and this was, I'm sorry, Jan Michael Vincent at his absolute hottest. There's so many things about this movie you can't help, if you like them, things like this, to love. I like the relationship that he starts developing with dude's kid and taking him under his wing, showing him the ropes, and, you know, kind of realizing he's aging and maybe he does need a little extra help from time to time. But it just seems like the everything that transpires in the movie was all, it was destined to happen in a certain way. Just the two of them, him being admonished for bringing on an apprentice without seeking approval, but everything seems to be okay. Then they get to go travel to Italy to carry out this hit. And you think that there's some kind of bond developing, even though I think he knows that Bishop killed his dad. Not that he cared. He wanted his dad's money. He could give a shit if his dad was alive or dead. I don't really think there was any animosity between the two over that. Because, I mean, Jan Michael Vincent's character has got a coldness to him. These are just my random thoughts here. I think he was using everything as a means to his own ends. I just don't think he imagined how things were going to shake out. It's a beautiful movie to watch. There's car chases. Everything is choreographed, the fights, the car chases. There's absolutely just not a minute of screen time wasted in this movie. It's just so much fun to watch. It's such a great movie. And it's always going to be way up there, in my opinion. That's pretty much my summation.
So what you're saying is, Suzanne, that you think the film cuts like a knife and it feels so right? I think I'm going to choke on her beer.
You're terrible.
What about Big Wednesday, girl, man? Stupid sexy Gary Busey? Come on now, you know.
Oh, God.
That's a surfing picture, by the way, if you know what that movie is. That stars, a very young William Cat, Gary Busey, and Jan Michael Vincent. So it's worth your time, I think. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh no, never mind.
Oh man, this film though, it's not your average, you know, Chuck Bronson shoot 'em up, yada yada yada. If you haven't seen this before, you're expecting like heavy violence and, you know, people getting blown up with squibs and yada yada yada. You won't get in this movie because it's very calculated in this movie. He gets the packet from his employer and he studies everything meticulously. I mean, he's not like, he's got to plan everything out. Everything's very carefully planned. And I kind of like that this film is different in that way. I have to mention the writer, Louis John Carlino, wrote this he also wrote, I think, an underrated film, The Great Santini, starring Robert Duvall. And he also wrote the remake that's worth your time, and the sequel to the remake that's worth your time, because the cast are bangers in those movies. And I think you guys check them out if you haven't yet. You too, Suzanne. I think you should check them out.
I grumbled at you.
I know you. I know how you feel, and I'm not even saying this sarcastically. They're good, but yeah. This movie, you really feel the relationship between J. Michael Vincent and Charles Bronson. In a way, you would never guess the ending that you got unless you knew the hook to the movie. If somebody told you what was going to happen, you'd never guess what was going to happen next. But basically, he's forced to betray a friend, and you could tell that he doesn't want to do it, but he has to do it because that's the job he's assigned to. And there's this whole web of like assassins and like a code, if you will, that if you do something wrong, but she does something wrong by taking the kid under his wing. In the eyes of this tight knit group that they have, this was the wrong thing to do. Which leads you to your epic third act of this movie, which I think is really wonderful because you get lots of like real car stunts and explosions, and again, more tedious planning by one Chuck Bronson in this movie. You don't get that. You don't get that in a lot of movies. It's usually him being reckless, but this is a lot more of a subdued Charles Bronson, not just killing people for the hell of it. He's killing with a purpose, and very carefully and very, very calculated. You don't get that in a lot of Charles Bronson movies. Just him, bang, bang, bang. It's not Action USA, bang, 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 but not many things are. Shot incredibly well. Like Suzanne said, the first 15 minutes, I love films like this where there's no dialogue. You just kind of get to know the character. You kind of get a little bit in the next movie, a little towards the beginning. You don't really get dialogue for like the first few minutes, and then they talk once Leon shows up, of course. But yeah, I really like the first 15 minutes of this film. The score, which I have to look for real fast, was done by one of Michael Winter's normal go-to guys who did the score for the Bad News Bears. He did the score for a few other things he's done. Jerry Fielding did the music, and it's not Carmen, but it's very explain it. It fits the film so well though. And by the way, Bryan Adams, where are we at here? Yeah, Kingston, Ontario native. In case Suzanne wanted to know or something, I'm just throwing it out there again. More Bryan Adams reference. So whenever I feel flushed, I'll just say a Bryan Adams fact, and just to keep the conversation going. I know she loves it so much. I'm gonna stop now. But yeah. Fun fact of the film: the Keenan Wynn role was supposed to be Cliff Robertson, and Jan Michael Vincent's role was supposed to be Jeff Bridges. And I think I would have took it either way because they're all good. And one other thing I had to mention: the producer of this film, and I'm sure this might even been on the thing from the guys who brought you Rocky, Erwin Winkler and Robert Chardoff brought you Rocky and some other good stuff too. It's just great European settings, great locations all around this film, and all this makes for a great film. And I implore Suzanne to go watch those mechanic reduxes because they're a lot of fun. But yeah, these two guys work together. Like I said, if you never had somebody spoil it for you, you would never see the ending coming unless you saw the Jason Statham, Ben Foster version of this movie, and even then you wouldn't have guessed that was going to happen. So it works great because it has the same writer on both ends. So I won't give away that spoiler what happens at the end of this movie. So great chemistry though. I'm going to leave my schmeal at that, and I'm going to kick it to Mike and ask him anything else to say about the film. What does he give it 1 to 10?
I would just repeat the fact that if you're a fan of Bronson and what he has to offer in general, and somehow you miss this one through the years, look it up immediately and watch it, because I actually think this is one of his better movies. Just not suggesting, any of the other ones aren't good, but I just think the mechanic from start to finish, I think it's paced really well. I just think, once it gets going, there's not really much downtime. Bronson is, you can watch him on screen just having conversations, and then he gets to the killing, and the killing's always fun. What would I rank? Man, I think I'm going to have to go 10 out of 10 with this one, because I don't see many flaws in this. Unless you're just totally against the action crime thriller genre, I don't see why.
Then you should hang yourself.
Yeah, then you shouldn't be watching it in the first place. But I think this movie delivers on everything you would want to see in this genre, and the rewatchability is great. So I'm giving it a 10 out of 10.
Suzanne.
Yeah, there's this movie, just from beginning to end, like I said, there's just not a single frame of film wasted on anything. And I would have to say, in my opinion, that this is probably Bronson's best work, just because it's a cut above. It's a little bit more, he's more subdued. It's a little bit more intellectual. It's a little, it just seems to be elevated a little bit more than the other ones. The whole movie is calculated. There's a pacing. I kind of have to go with Mike. I can't even think of a flaw in this movie. The motorcycle chase was just brilliant. There's nothing in this movie that isn't. Everything is set to go the way it should. So I'm gonna have to stand it a 10 out of 10 as well. It's perfection.
Yeah, I gotta say, like I said, it's not like any other Bronson film. Well, not many more Bronson films that you've seen. There's other ones where he's a lot more subdued too, and not violent at all, really. Look at Hard Times. If you haven't seen that film, that's a film where he plays a bare knuckle boxer that's being hustled by James Coburn, and that's a wonderful film. And it's great. It's very little flaws, great locations. Great. I wouldn't call it a fun movie. If you're looking for, go blow him up, shooting everybody all the time, this isn't the Bronson film for you. But this is one of the best in the bunch. I'd say top 3 that I've seen. It's if I had to pick a realistic choice. But yeah, that 10 is justified. I think it's damn near perfect, and it's fun, and Go watch those Reduxes, Suzanne. They're good. I enjoy them, and I wouldn't steer you wrong in that direction. Okay.
Oh, I know you wouldn't. I will eventually. I will tell Pat. He will be excited as hell to watch both of them.
But yeah, that's it for this one, and we're gonna move on to our next selection, which is Leone, the Professional from 1994. Right to this trailer.
Let's talk business. This guy comes to town every Tuesday. Are you free Tuesday?
Yeah, I'm free Tuesday.
You can't stop what you can't see.
This guy came from the outside. He was a pro. He was fast.
In the art of the kill, Leon was the master.
Somebody's coming up. Somebody's serious.
He never missed a hit. He never got caught.
You're indestructible. Bullets slide off you. You played with them.
And above all else, he never had a reason to care. Until now.
I like these calm little moments before the storm.
My family was shot down by DEA officers.
3 kids here. One of them is missing. Find her.
Please open the door. Please.
From the director of La Femme Nikita.
If you don't help me, I'll die tonight. I can feel it.
An innocent girl with no one else to turn to.
What exactly do you do for a living?
Cleaner.
You mean you're a hitman? Cool.
A perfect assassin.
I need you to help me, Leon. I want to get those dirtbags who killed my brother.
with someone to finally believe in.
Change ain't good. Remember that, Leone.
I will. They're about to come face to face with a cop who's crossed the line.
Bring me everyone.
What do you mean, everyone?
Leone, the Professional, from 1994. I sound like I got a Creole right there, see? I didn't mean to do that, but it is what it is. It was a French film, written and directed by Luc Besson. Welcome back to the show, sir. Stars Jean Reno as Leone, Gary Oldman as our crooked cop Stansfield, Natalie Portman as the young girl Matilda, Danny Aiello as Tony. I guess you would call him Leon's, like, keeper, in a way? We'll get into that. Yeah, his handler, yeah. Michael Badalucco from The Practice. He plays Matilda's father. Ellen Green, Audrey One herself plays Matilda's, and there's some other people in here that we'll get into later on. Yeah, I love this film in so many ways. People talk about the pedophilia angle. I don't see it, but I'm sure we'll talk about that during the review. Suzanne, you first, girl. What's your take on Leone?
Well, I have to admit, I have not watched this movie in a number of years. It was a rental, and then I saw it in the bin at the video store, and I bought it. And then I watched it a few more times. I probably haven't watched the movie in like 40-something years. Yes, I did that on purpose. And there is so much going on in this movie, and when I rewatched it again, the opening scenes remind me of another movie called Gloria, if anyone is familiar with that one.
Jean Rowland starred that movie, right?
Yes.
I think I know what it is.
Not the shitty remake. Yeah. And this one is hard to actually, because there are so many different factors in this movie. It's hard to try to put everything in some, normal perspective. I guess I'm just going to go, act 1, 2, and 3. Act 1, she knows what's going on. She sees them basically for her brother's dead body, which incredibly harsh to watch. I mean, it's just that scene is so incredibly brutal. I don't mind seeing Ellen Green, who usually plays the perky, happy, Audrey. She's always going to be Audrey to me, playing something quite a bit different from that. And yet you kind of want her to get whacked. And, the dad is, like I said, what's going on. But Matilda is an interesting character. It's like I get how some people can see, maybe it's not really pedophilia, because there are certain scenes in the movie where she tries to make herself so grown up and sexualized, and he never looks at her like that. And that's one of the points, because I knew that was going to end up being brought up. Overall, though, the movie it pretty much is nonstop action with some very uncomfortable scenes with this, 12-year-old girl who is trying to hypersexualize herself because, this man saved her life. And she just tries to emulate him every step of the way. The end scene is, because I'm so glossing over so many points here, I'm going to just try to keep it as brief as I possibly can. It's one of the best just gunfight in a short hallway I've ever seen. Well, it's way up there. Not the best, but it's damn good. I've always there's a little bit more going on to this movie than basically, hitman takes on young person. There starts to become like a family familiarity between Leone and Matilda, and it's they just start seeming to become each other's family because he has no one, she has no one. And after you get past that creepiness, because it is kind of creepy, but it's not that people are trying to exploit her. She's trying to make herself much older, and she can't. There's some cutesy scenes between her and Leon, and we could talk about Gary Oldfield for days, who can literally do anything. I cannot think. I have seen Gary Oldman in some of the most bizarre fucking roles, but he can pull those off without a hitch. This is an action movie. There's so many layers to it. You've got the relationship that he has with his handler, the relationship he has with this little girl, and trying to basically still make a living because that's all he has. He doesn't have any job skills or anything. He's a hitman, straight up hitman. And Matilda wants to be just like him. I am being so incredibly vague. It's not easy to talk about. But I mean, it's just one of those movies. It's got a little bit of everything in it. And I'm just going to leave it there. I'm sure in some nation I will come up with something else.
Michael?
Everybody to sleep?
Oh, no.
No, not at all.
I was wondering if you were done. I was wondering why you cut off.
All right. Yeah, I love this movie. I remember being a kid. I believe it was 1994 that it came out. And what originally interested me is, I don't know if they still do this because I don't watch a lot of network TV anymore, but you guys remember back in the day, not so much trailers, but they would have like the 30-second TV spots where throw a couple scenes in the movie with quotes, with like a couple action shots, and there'd usually be like a voice narrator. Well, I remember seeing an ad for this movie come on, and this was like right around the time the movie Speed came out, Keanu Reeves, Sandra Bullock, bomb on bus movie. Oh, yeah. And this TV spot comes on for The Professional, and the thing that like perked me up was like it said, "This will make Speed look like a ride to grandmother's house." And I was like, what? I was like, all right. And so I ended up seeing it, and man, I really, really liked it. And I think this is one of those movies where it's going to satisfy different appetites. You get all the hitman action stuff. And believe me, there's times when they bring out some heavy artillery with what's going on. I love the story itself. I think there's very touching elements to it that I didn't expect because I didn't know a lot going into it the first time other than, they show all this action stuff happening. Natalie Portman's debut as an actress, I mean, child actors can be kind of, 50-50 on their performances. I think she was really good. On the subject of like the borderline pedophilia stuff, I never took that from this movie because when I watch this movie, when I see the way it's written, is Matilda is basically acting the way she is because that's what she thinks. That's how like an adult woman through the eyes of what, a 12-year-old. I don't know. I don't remember her character's actual age. Anywhere from like 11, 12, I think. I think through the eyes of an 11, 12-year-old, she thinks that's like, okay, that's how I should act to pretend, to give off that like I'm an adult and like Leon and all that. He never goes for it. Obviously, he makes for many awkward scenes. You could say they like get close to the line, but I never felt that. I never felt like it was like a Lolita situation. If everyone knows that reference to that movie and that general, it never felt like that. Like it never felt like, oh no, he's getting seduced. No, he never looked at her like that. In fact, he always, like, for most of the movie, he was even reluctant to be doing what he was doing in the first place. But yeah, I mean, I like that it's a story of basically, he's obviously a loner because he's a hitman, so he's kind of dedicated to that life, and she becomes a loner because her whole damn family gets murdered. So it's more, to me, a movie about that, two loners bonding over a mutual bad situation, and that's how the relationship forms, and that's what it's about. It's never about the other stuff. When she's kind of like mouthing off to like I think it was like the hotel desk manager, she's like, "Oh, he's my lover." It's like, okay, people. She says it because she's being a dumb kid in that moment. It's not. That's all there is to that. It's nothing more than that. But yeah, I thought this movie was great, and I will say that anyone who's seen the American cut of the movie, but not the actual international uncut one, needs to watch that version, because there is nearly a half hour or more movie there. And I actually think, like, a lot of times when you get director's cuts, it's like you might like this stuff in it, but it doesn't really make a difference to like the story. But I feel like what the scenes that get put back in really help further develop the story, really help develop the bond between them. There's scenes with like him teaching her how to like do hitman jobs, except they're using like a paintball gun instead. There's a montage of them doing it, and then one thing is where she almost gets shot to death because one of their hitman trick gags goes wrong. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, the actual international uncut version, I highly recommend that, because I like that even more than the American version, which is the one I grew up really liking. But I grew an even bigger appreciation when I saw like the full uncut movie. But I'm starting to ramble here, but this is always maintained. Like every time I watch it, it's never gone down to me at all in rewatches. In fact, it's probably gone higher almost every time. I think it's a very well put together piece of cinema, and like I said, there's a lot going on in this movie for a lot of people that like a lot of different kind of movies should appreciate. So I guess that'll be my opening thoughts on it.
Well, opening. Yeah, man. Yeah, that director's cut, it's called Leone the Professional, is readily available now. But I remember, back in the day, I only had a bootleg VHS that somebody ripped off a laser disc from some foreign disc or something for the longest time until finally it became available. Now, one of the hooks from that is that assassination montage scene, how Stansfield's taken out in the end, because he mentions the ring trick, which, if you don't know what the ring trick is, it's kind of like the octopus in the Goonies. They mention the octopus at the end of the Goonies, but if you haven't seen like that Disney Channel version of the movie, you wouldn't see that octopus scene in the movie because it doesn't exist within the theatrical cut of the movie. He takes out Stansfield with the grenades, which he mentions the ring trick, which is the scene Mike mentioned of her almost getting blown away, and then him basically blowing a giant hole in the door with the shotgun. The ring trick is then literally dropping a grenade within the door, and that's all it is. But it's mentioned. But if you don't watch that long version of the movie, the longer version of the movie, you won't get it right away. It's just kind of there. But anyway, I digress.
Yep.
I think Matilda as a character that's forced to grow up really fast. Because her family is killed. She doesn't really love any of them except for the little brother. So the fact that she has nobody and she knows this guy down the hall, that she doesn't quite know what he does. He's just like this mysterious guy who just seems like a really nice dude that she talks to as he comes down the hall and stuff. And, that's like her last ditch effort to go say, oh, I went to the store, my family got killed, and now, where do I go now? I go see this guy at the end of the hall that I'm kind of friendly with. And when she finds out what he does, she makes that turn to say, well, now I want revenge for my little brother, forget the rest of them, which, the introduction to Stansfield is Matilda's father was holding drugs for these dirty cops, and of course he cuts some for himself and gets in trouble for it. With his whole dead family thing. They all get shot and killed, and including an epic scene where mom's in the bathtub and she gets blown away by the shotgun. It's pretty brutal, and yeah, their relationship I never seen. I could see, kind of like how to explain this without talking too gross. Like every little girl was in love with their daddy, kind of thing. Not in a sexual way, but in a way like admires them in a way that no other man could ever like take their place, But since she never really had a father that she could, care about, she cares for Leon, and he kind of becomes her new dad in a way. But it's weirdly sexual because she, like I said, she has to grow up really fast, and I don't know if she is thinking this way. It's really weird to explain within the context of the film because they make some choices where I could see the gripes, but at the same time, with the context, because there's little conversations in the film. Like there's a story, there's a conversation that Matilda has with Leon about him not being able to love in a way, and Leon tells the story of this girl. I think she was a diplomat or something, a diplomat's daughter or something, that they weren't too happy with him dating her, and she gets shot and killed. Well, that was his start for being a cleaner because he got revenge for the only woman he ever loved. So, in a way, he can't allow himself to be loved again because he lost that one true love. And that's like a really small thing, but it's not really a throwaway thing either because it explains a lot about his character, who, besides him getting down to business, which, I love the opening scene of this movie of him just laying to waste and being so cool. But then you get this other side of him, which is like the child. He's like a child basically when he's not getting down to business. He's very meticulous about his daily thing. He puts the plant out. He makes sure he has his milk every day. One of my favorite scenes in the entire movie is the look Leon has when he's watching Gene Kelly doing his thing on screen is how I want to feel when I watch every movie. I'll tell you right now, because he's just having the best time, and he has that look of childlike glee. To a point to where he needs Tony, Danny Aiello's character, to basically handle his money. Because he's to that point to where he's I don't know, because it's not really explained if he's fighting or not or why Tony takes care of him, but you could see in his actions and his reactions to things that he's not all the way right upstairs as far as like being an adult is, so he needs somebody to care for him. And this could have been like some old stuff from the old country, that he was set up to help him. But we don't know anything about that. We just know that Tony's kind of like his handler, and I love the scene at the end where because Leon unfortunately gets killed with Stansfield. He gets blown up with Stansfield, and she goes to go meet him at the restaurant, and you could tell that he's angry with her, and because she wants to be the cleaner now, and he's not having it. He wants her to be a child and go to school and grow up right, but at the same time, you could tell he's going to take care of her, because that was Leon's request. But the characters in the film, besides those, Stansfield is this guy who's fucking high on fucking pills, like all the time. There's that great scene where he's introduced, where he opens his little box of pills, and he's got his headphones on, and he just bites into that whatever he's taken, and you just tell it's like going straight to his bloodstream by the look on his face, and oh my gosh.
Yeah, a team of messed up, dirty cops.
Oh yeah,
you gotta love it. And they're all like quirky looking too. Like it's not just like these uniformed or even street clothes looking cops. Of course, it's like Gary Oldman, who's always a treasure on screen, and then hippie looking dreads white guy.
What
the hell is he doing there?
The white Rasta in that group. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I had no business being there in my opinion because he just did not. He just seemed like the odd fucking peg of the group. I just don't see him being a police-like.
Maybe he's his nephew remotely. Or something.
Yeah, I know. His mom fucked somebody to get him that job.
He's that friend of a friend, to take a line from Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back. His name doesn't even fit the rhyme scheme. Come on now,
Hey, Officer Oldman, can you do something to get my son out of the house? Sure, I'll take him on a ride along.
Like, oh, he's got to change his clothes, though. I don't know about that. I'm sure you see a lot in California, but white guys with dreadlocks is one of my bugaboos, Mike, because it's one of those things where I can't do it. You know?
Oh, God, I agree with you there.
Yeah, great stuff, between, again, 12 years old in this film, her first role, and the conversations that she has with Jean Reno and Gary Oldman. There's a great scene where she is going to bust in the police station and just murder everybody, and she gets busted real fast because she's 12 years old, and she's inexperienced, and the conversation he has with her about, basically, what's your problem with me? It's like, you killed my little brother. It's like, well, do you want to join him? It's like, wow, that's cold shit right there, saying to a girl, and her reaction to it is spot on. And for this to be the first time out, I got to say that, it's something else for a child actor who sometimes they really work. I mean, I could name a few examples. I mean, Tatum O'Neal in Paper Moon is a great example. I think she was like 6 or something when that movie was.
No, she was like still
8 or 9, but still very snappy. And going toe to toe with Ryan O'Neal, her dad, of course, who was a very learned actor at that point. But yeah, her back and forth with these characters and the emotion you give, and it's like I said, I could throw away the weird sexual stuff because you could leave it a test to the character having to grow up too fast, like I said, and she doesn't know anything about anything except what her old confused brain, is going on there.
It's childhood infatuation through the eyes of an 11, 12-year-old that's trying to do what she thinks an adult would do to get Leon. It's awkward, but it's supposed to be awkward. Like, I don't know. I just see it as like, she's not like a teen vixen, trying to seduce Leon. It's not that kind of thing, and I think that's what people mistake it for, because obviously, any type of relationship between them would be wrong. Like, we're not saying that, but it's I don't know. I find a distinction between this and movies where something even like a Poison Ivy type movie, like where it's straight up a teenager trying to sleep with an adult. Like she doesn't even know what the hell she's really doing. Other than, she has an infatuation, and through her inexperience and being a kid, she's just like trying to mimic what she thinks like an older person would do. So I'm not gonna like knock people for if they find it awkward. And I could definitely see on the first time watch because you're still kind of taking it in. But after multiple watches and time to think about it and really kind of analyze what's going on, I don't have the same problem with it that some people tend to do.
Well, I mean, I think that's the thing, is the fact that she's traumatized. She's trying to figure out how she's supposed to act. And there are times that she's, thinking that, she needs to, I don't want to say throw herself at him, but just genuinely show love, but she doesn't really quite know how that is. And it comes off more as awkward than it does uncomfortable, just because of the age.
And he reacts the right way, too. It's not like, he reacts the way like, oh, let me think about this. But no, he reacts the right way when she's saying these things to him. It's like, what, this isn't happening,
Exactly. And it's like, there's no scenes of him like leering at her where he's trying to talk himself out of like doing it. Like, there is none of that. This isn't like,
Leon comes off more as asexual than he does anything else. He's pretty much, his future has already in his own head been pre-decided. This is what he's going to do.
Yeah, and the great love of his life is now his plant. Pretty much. And maybe milk, too.
But it also has kind of that childlike quality to it.
Yeah, exactly. He has kind of like the childlike demeanor. And I
mean, I don't think that he's, mentally stunted in any way.
No,
I just think
way.
That after the love of his life was killed, he pretty much, any part of his sexuality, he completely cut off.
Yeah, I think he hasn't allowed himself to like even entertain the idea of like loving someone in that way anymore. And not to mention, being a hitman is no kind of life for relationships and family and all that either. So,
No.
I mean, learn that in the mechanic, we see somebody, you love is when you get involved with somebody, you can obviously be taken out right away. And I think Leon's routine, just his routine, of every day, doing his sit-ups and, putting the plant outside and drinking his milk is, it's kind of like in Odd Couple situations, thrown upside down, but the inclusion of this little girl, and he has to change the way he does things, change a lot of things, which is, it says that sense of confusion there, because this world is just shifted just enough to make him, question some things. And
well, it changed his routine, because you can tell. I mean, you're right. Puts the plant outside, has a glass of milk, goes on, does certain things throughout the day. It's a routine, and this little girl knocking on his door completely trashed that routine.
Yeah. I mean, I forgot to mention, how much role the city plays in this movie, which is again, a character in itself. I mentioned this in a few films, but all the great New York locations in this film play a role in the film, and that end is just tragic, man. I mean, even when Leon does escape, from the freaking rocket launchers and the machine guns, because bring me everyone, that deal. And they bring everything. They bring all the fucking guns, and the part where Leon busts out the wall where Matilda can climb out, but he can't fit in there, and she realizes that he can't fit in there. And that again, the acting from a 12-year-old in this movie, it's spectacular. And yeah, he does get out and he does die, but again, there's so many great scenes like that in this movie, which just like it makes you very emotional, and it still gets me. God, I don't know how many years later now. It's got to be almost 20-some years later, 30-some years, I don't know. I don't care.
Not 30 years yet.
1994.
Almost 30 years later. And he had quite a run, Luc Besson. I mean, he had this, and a couple years later, he had The Fifth Element, which is a film that people love or hate.
Oh, I love it.
I think it's a masterpiece. It has some parts in it that are kind of there, but visually, it's amazing. I did Lucy on the show, which is one of his later efforts with Misty, and that's a film that gets better with every viewing to me. I don't know what it is. It's just there's so much stuff going on that you might have missed that if you watch it again you might catch, and it don't make a whole lot of sense in the end, but it is what it is. It's a big budget science fiction movie, and this film is less is more, and I think that their relationship and the location visuals, and because again, it's not really a film about, you think it's a film about assassin. He's going to kill all kinds of people. It's like, no, everything, you get that in like the opening of the film and in the end of the film, but it's more of a film about this guy who's forced into, caring for somebody again. And it's a big step for him. And he doesn't quite know how to feel about that. And he goes full on to be this, not her father, but her protector, and do anything for her. And this coming from this guy who's this cold, not cold, but like subdued, killer who lost the one that he loved. He never thought he'd find love again, and they had the conversation a couple times in the film. And I think it's very important, their relationship. It's not sexual. It's just it's more like they're what each other needed at the time, and it meshed incredibly well. I'll kick it to Mike and ask him anything else you'd like to say about the film, and what would you give it 1 out of 10?
I would say watch the hell out of this movie over and over, because it's really a favorite of mine. It's maintained its greatness through the years, and like I said, if you've only seen the American cut of it, track down the international one. I was so glad. Like, it's probably late 90s, early 2000s when they finally released that version in the U.S. By now, I'm sure there's multiple.
Oh, it's readily available now, but back in the day, that was that was your flea market purchase or your Comic-Con purchase on VHS, you know.
Dude, back in the day, that was like one of my first prized possessions, like receiving it in the mail. I was like, oh my God. And I didn't even really know, because even back then it wasn't, you could look up on the internet, because this is like pre-YouTube internet, so you could look up websites that would like explain scenes that were cut out, but it's not like now where you can just go on YouTube and like literally watch all the deleted scenes. So when I got the movie, it was my first time actually being able to see what was cut out, and man, that was like Christmas in whatever day I received it. But I'm making it a 2 for today and giving it another 10 out of 10. I don't find any flaws in this movie. It's always held up for me. The performances are great. You know, you have your heavy hitters of a cast in here, but you're also like run into, you know, some characters you've seen, or actresses you've seen elsewhere in smaller roles, and this is a must watch for me, so it's getting a 10.
Beautiful. Suzanne.
Yeah, that was the one thing I didn't bring up when I was talking about it, is just the sprawling landscapes of New York really play a huge part. And this was the first time I saw the director's cut, but I had retained so much of the first one, because for years that movie was burned into my brain. And you never saw these little things that they did together while he was teaching her how to be a cleaner. And I was so happy to finally see that. And I knew what scenes were there and weren't there, even though I hadn't watched the movie in a long time. It holds up. There is not one thing about this movie that does not hold up. The relationship between the two, her trying to figure out her place in the universe, him actually trying to take on some responsibility of trying to care for this girl whose life he saved, and the relationships between the two. It's so well put together. It's so well written. The cast is. I'm not a huge Natalie Portman fan. This is probably my favorite thing that she has ever done, and she was 12. So yeah, I'm pretty much. I think I have to stick with Mike on this one. I can't think of a single thing wrong with this movie. It's perfection, and even the 30-minute longer director's cut, it adds yet another layer to the movie. It's so well worth it. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with a 10 on this one as well.
No, man. Yeah, it's. I mean, if you want to watch a film about Natalie Portman being, you know, pursuing a man as a young lady, watch Beautiful Girls, where she's trying to bang Timothy Hutton in that movie, and that film's toxic masculinity at its finest. I wouldn't recommend watching. I don't like it very much. It's got great actors in it, but there's that weird thing that Timothy Hutton wants to fuck like a 14-year-old Natalie Portman in that movie, and it's like, yeah. See, in that movie, it's direct because he's infatuated with her. Leon is not infatuated with Matilda at all, besides the fact that she reluctantly becomes his companion. Not by design, not by anything. It's just something that happens and he makes a decision. So if you're one of those people that thinks that Leon wants to have sex with Matilda in this movie, I think you're watching this movie for the wrong reasons, you know. Oh gosh. But yeah, it's damn near it's perfect. And I gotta say, out of all Luc Besson's movies, this film is the best out of all of them, and that's because of its perfect and its simplicity, and its scenery and its performances. It is 10 out of 10 for me as well, and I'm gonna leave it at that. If you haven't seen it before, go fix that problem because it's pretty great. Yeah, that's it for this one. And we're going to come on back and close out the show.
Hello, this is The Doom Show. Keep on keeping on and keep on trucking, America. We don't listen to our feedback because we don't get any.
The truth hurts.
I just alienated the 2 people that give us constant feedback. Sorry, guys.
That's gotta go. That's gotta go in there.
So on the show, we talk about giallo movies and slasher movies and cult movies. Sometimes we even talk about Cameron Mitchell and his movies. I am Richard. Who are you?
I'm Brad, the guy that's not Richard, or Jeffrey, or Simon.
That's right, we have 4 people, and we always talk at once, except to each other.
Jeffrey lives up north. Simon lives across the world. Richard lives in Penis, Alabama.
Hello, This is the Doom Show is a proud member of the Legion Podcast Network. Check out the other shows on legionpodcast.com. You can check out more Hello, This is the Doom Show at hellodoomshow.podomatic.com or at doommoviethon.com.
Check for our Amazon exclusive Hello, This is the Doom Show cookbook.
Do you like hot dogs?
We got them.
Do you like mac and cheese?
We got it.
Do you like cheddar?
We have it.
Actually, we don't.
No cheddar.
Just Colby. Colby Jack.
Hello, this is the Doom Show. We never gave up on you because you never gave up on us.
Wow.
This is Bo from LegionPodcasts.com. Hey, it's been a crazy time, and when the world gets nuts, we're happy to offer some old-fashioned podcast entertainment. But for some folks, getting a laugh out of a show isn't really helping these days. People who depend on tips in their bartending jobs or have been put on furlough with no pay till the worst of this coronavirus threat has passed. That's a tough spot. That's why we set up a GoFundMe for members of our community, a sort of grand-scale take a penny, leave a penny. For people like myself, for whom the recent disruptions haven't kicked us out of work, well, we can drop a few of those extra pennies in the GoFundMe jar. For those who are directly affected by recent events, and find themselves looking for money to pay the electric bill or keep the water on, well, how about you give me a shout at B-O, at legionpodcasts.com. Let me know the situation and what you need, and we'll do our best to make life a little easier. And you can find links to the GoFundMe on the front page of legionpodcasts.com, on our Facebook group page, or on Twitter at Legion Podcasts, where it's the pinned tweet. For those of you who are able, thanks in advance for chipping in. And members of our community who need a hand, hey, here we are. Remember, stay safe, stay healthy, and we're all going to get through this together. Legion isn't just a name, it's who we are. Thanks for listening to all the shows here on Legion Podcasts, and we'll talk to you soon.
Well, folks, that was the show. We've been away for a while, and I think that I've had a great time tonight. I am in a good mood. And I think it really showed out the show and in my companions here as well. So thank you, Michael, for coming on to be a guest. You know you're welcome whenever we don't have like 6 people on here, which the way I'm going to do things, I think that I'm going to try to get a guest every week just in case somebody falls out so we can still have a show. No pressure on my host then, and we'll see how it goes. But Michael, you got some stuff going on. Tell the folks what you got coming, sir.
All right, Fresh Cuts is the show where we talk about new releases as current and new as possible. Of course, with theaters still closed around much of the country, it's been mostly VOD, but some theatrical stuff they concede and release on VOD. Recently, we did 10 Minutes to Midnight, the vampire movie, somewhat vampire craziness movie. And next we have The Queen of Black Magic, which is now on Shudder. And then the main show, No More Room in Hell. Gary, you've been a part of that one in the past as a guest. That's just kind of like the show we rotate who picks the movies. That's kind of like your all-encompassing news topics in the genre and then movie discussions for that. Also Burning for Springwood, which I do with these two here, Gary and Suzanne. And what else? Theme Warriors might actually be coming back starting in February. So we're working on that. So look for all those if you have not already heard and listened to them.
Cool. Suzanne.
You can always find me on the NFW podcast where I am being tortured to death with remakes. So if you really want to see my life spared, please text Nudie and tell him to stop. And you can find us there. We recently did the Fog remakes, which if you listened to the beginning of the show, you will get an hour and 40 minutes of me complaining constantly. I'm serious. I'm not kidding. If you want to hear me complain for an hour and 40 minutes solid. This is your movie. And this week we did, oh my God, what the hell did we do this week?
The Wolfman.
Oh, we did The Wolfman, which was an unusual choice. So yeah, keep your eye out for those, or do yourself a favor, don't. No, I'm kidding. No. Do it. We're on the Dark Discussions Network. Look for us there.
Cool. Yeah, this show and the show Mike mentioned and 2 Minimum Commentaries can all be found on Legion Podcast Network. We're still belting them out. I hope to belt out more very, very soon. And I think I'm good in my head right now, which is always a plus.
Yay!
Yay! Mental health is amazing. Yes, ma'am. But hopefully next time you will hear an Iris or a Jamie as well. But on the next episode, you will hear, so far, I'll announce it here, a guy who's been in podcasting for a very long time. I knew him from the Terror Troop days. He was a friend of that show. Gregor Mortis from the Land of the Creeps is going to join us for a show simply about George Kennedy on a boat. We're going to do Death Ship, which is a typical ghost story on a boat, or people getting murdered, like a slasher type thing. And the most unusual film about a cat ever committed to screen, The Uninvited from 1988. That's all I'll say. It's the most unusual story about a cat ever existed, and it might be explosive. This episode is all I'll say about that one.
I can't wait.
I can't wait either. I love George Kennedy. I watched Demon Warp a couple weeks ago. It is just a dumb fucking movie about a space Bigfoot that I've ever seen in my life, but it's so good.
Oh, I think I spent many nights when I couldn't find anything to watch and I couldn't sleep. I popped in the Iger Sanction, put me to sleep like a baby.
Ah, nice. But yeah, that's about all I got going on right now, and we hope to see you guys all next time. I say see all the time, but you're listening. This is an audio podcast. I realize I sound like a fucking moron, but yeah, this has been your Sin and Beef podcast, where if you've got beef, we've got the grinder. Talk to you next time.
Good night.
Peace.